Let's get ready to rumble.
Yes, we're back. We actually are this time. Episode 146 of the Hibs Ramble. And for those that are already watching on YouTube, please do not adjust your phone, tablet, TV set, whatever it may be. It is me, it is Shaun, I am hosting this week. And no, Liam is not here. I'm actually joined by a few beautiful, handsome men this evening, one of them being Craig Leach. How you doing? You alright?
I'm okay, mate. How are you?
I'm good. It's been a while. It's been a very,
It
very
has
long
been a
time.
while.
It's so good to have you back.
I can't remember the last one I was on. Like, genuinely can't remember that. Was it maybe one we done on an afternoon?
I think so, aye. I think so. That was a while
It's been
back.
a while,
That was
aye.
a while back.
It's been a while.
And we're also joined by... There's quite a few very knowledgeable men that have stepped foot on the East Lothian Hib supporters bus. He is one of them. The better half of the Natural Order podcast. Aiden, how you doing? You alright?
I'm doing very well, guys. Appreciate you having me on, and apologies for everyone else having to tune into my dulcet tones from up here in Caithness. But nice to be on with you guys and just chat Hibs for a change, which is very, very pleasing.
Do we have to?
I'm surprised. I was going to make a connection joke about the fact that you're all the way up there and that your connection might hold, but it's normally my connection that's fucking pish. So I'm not going to make the joke because it'll come back to bite me in the arse and my screen will freeze or something. But Craig, yes, unfortunately we are here to talk about the Hibs. We could talk about Christmas related stuff, but I don't think people are actually going to tune in and listen to that. We are recording on the Sunday after the game away to Dundee United. First of all, Aidan, see, before we actually get into the team and stuff like that as well, how are you feeling going into that game? Because there has been a lot of noise around Hibs and David Gray recently. What's been your take on all of that?
I think I'm maybe slightly different from you guys these days. Like, I'm a bit more removed from, everyday ins and outs of being alongside Hibs and Hearts fans. So I don't always hear, other than through a few WhatsApp chats, like kind of picking up the feeling of what everyone's saying. But from my perspective, it's been frustrating as hell. It's obviously after the start of the season, what happened last season, I had big aspirations going into the campaign, and I just feel like with the squad that we all believe that we've got, and the sort of strength in the league this year, especially with Rangers and Celtic, really disappointing. A lot of the points that we've dropped, and just for me in particularly, like that, I don't even really want to mention it, but the two Rangers games I think are prime examples of games that are massive opportunities this year to seriously get 3 points, and we've barely laid a glove on them, and I actually find that quite concerning, to be honest. But from a David Gray perspective, we obviously all love the guy, but I'm quite keen on sort of continuity, and I'm really hoping he turns this round, because even, as I say, even the result during the week is a big disappointment, and I just kind of feel it leaves us stumbling about lower than what we're all aiming for. So that probably sums up how I'm feeling about it, mate.
Yeah, Craig, obviously going into the Dundee United game, loads of people were classing it as a must-win. Obviously, the noise from the other side of the city seems to be playing a part in naturally into how we as a support are feeling. Is that how you felt going into the game? Did you see it as a must-win, especially with the other fixtures coming up?
I don't know if I've seen it as a must-win, but it was definitely a can't get beat. And I think it's like, when you look at it on the face of it, on any normal season, a point away at Tannadice isn't a bad result, especially if they've just come off the back of a Wednesday night beating Celtic there as well. But I do think, I said at the start of the season, when they started going on the run, that what they do will not really affect us, but it's only natural now that it will, that we take a look at them and see that they're 16 points clear. Us, they're still 6 clear of Celtic. I know, and the thing is that we can all laugh and joke about Rangers and Celtic being shite, but they've still needed to do what they needed to do, and there's no reason why that couldn't have been us, based on the season November onwards that we had last year. So it was very much a must not lose with the run of fixtures coming up, and I think it was one of those ones where you almost, if you avoid defeat but put in a bit of a performance to avoid the defeat, then I kind of think the two of them go hand in hand. Where when you actually look at it on reflection, it was very much just there wasn't really much of a performance to go along with the point that we got.
Yeah, and obviously Megwa and Mitchell came in for the dark cupboards at East Mains and found themselves in the starting 11. Aiden, did that come as a surprise to you, considering potential injuries and people away at AFCON and stuff like that as well? And how do you think the two of them face? Because personally, I'm a bit biased, right? I obviously love Canayo, sorry. So he can do no wrong in my eyes, but I was very concerned initially that him and Mitchell were on the same side, and I was concerned about what Dundee United might try and do to expose that. How did you see them, not just at the beginning of the match, but how did you see them play throughout?
I think I was like yourself, Shaun. I alluded to that. It's very inexperienced, and Meg obviously came in for the cold. He's featured a couple of times off the bench this season, so he was the one that out of the two that surprised me the most, to be honest. I don't know. There was obviously some personal issue with Cadden, I believe.
I think his missus had their baby. I think that's what it was.
That's fair enough. Let him off with that one. But as I say, I was shocked to see him starting. I wasn't massively surprised to see the lad on loan, Mitchell, get a game. And I have to be honest, as I say, I was saying to you, very inexperienced, especially in, like I saw yesterday, as a kind of must-win game as well. And you're kind of thinking, how are United going to try and exploit that with the winger Fata, who was quite good against Celtic. But I thought Mitchell in particular was excellent. His reading of the game was decent, tackled well, played forward passes, and I actually think Megwa on the whole was pretty solid for me. I thought he was quite assured in possession. Just played quite a simple inside ball quite a few times that allowed us to switch out and play forward, which was good. I don't think he necessarily offered as much going forward in terms of Cadden's always hugging that right touchline, but I quite liked that he just sort of sat in a wee bit more. He did get caught out late in the second half, a wee ball over the top, and kind of he was in around the goal. Obviously, there's a couple of wee question marks, but I thought on the whole, Mego had a decent game. So, and as I say, I thought the boy Mitchell, for all the chat there's been recently in the papers and online that we've signed this centre half on loan from the Charlton. He's on loan from. He's not really featured at all, but hey, he was clearly ready for it yesterday. I thought he was really good, to be honest.
Okay, do you see it the same, or are you just more happy that we didn't get a Nathan Wood / Will Fish like debut from him?
Aye, absolutely.
No, I thought again, we didn't seem, even though we concede poor goals at times, whatever the makeup of the back three is doesn't really concern me. Like I think O'Hara's probably been our most consistent performer this season, on that right side of the back three. I think there was something about an illness that was going through the squad, so that's why he was out. But when you see the team coming in and you see not only Megwa but Mitchell as well, you're thinking, oh fucking hell, here we go. Not because of their abilities as players, like we were the founding members of the Canayo Megwa HSC after the UEFA Youth League game at Easter Road. But it was concerning to see it, especially, you know, if it was Hanley over on that side with Megwa, you probably wouldn't be as concerned. But no, like Aiden said, I thought first half anyway, Megwa was fine. You can tell it really leaves an imbalance though, where obviously Nicky Cadden on the left hand side is a lot more attack. Like the two Caddens are both as attacking as they are defensive. Not that I'm not saying like they're great defenders and great attackers, but they'll give you something in both areas. So there was quite an imbalance yesterday where obviously Canayo's not going to give you the same attacking output as what Nicky Cadden will on the other side.
Yep.
But I still felt that he was solid enough, like solid if unspectacular. You know what I mean? He wasn't really called on to do a hell of a lot, and what he was called on to do, he seemed to deal with fairly well. But Mitchell was impressive. Again, it's just why is it taking us until the week before Christmas to see him?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, how's the laddie going to get a chance to, especially a lone player? Like, what's the point in bringing in a lone player if you're not going to play him? Like, there was no point in bringing him in if it was purely for Rocky to go to AFCON, because if there was no illness, O'Hora would have played anyway.
Yeah.
So he done himself no harm, and I wouldn't be against him starting on Saturday either.
Going and looking at the first half performance prior to going 1-0 down, I don't know how you've seen it. I felt that at times kind of the game swung between both sides, but there was small spells where we'd done a lot of small intricate passing which I thought looked really good, and we were able to get out of tight positions, especially with some of our players in the middle of the park, which I thought were really good. So I actually found myself a bit frustrated when we did find ourselves go 1-0 down. Craig, I don't know if you thought that as well, and we obviously got a wee bit of a reaction.
Yeah, no, I think it's been we do seem to sort of start games all right. I thought for the first 10-15 minutes on Saturday we were really on the front foot. You know, there was clearly a get the ball into sort of Barlaser and look for that diagonal switch out to Cadden quick, rather than, you know, passing it inside to Mulligan, who's then passing it to Iredale, who's then passing it to Cadden. So I actually felt that we started, I think, pretty similar to the Celtic game before we conceded, where we were quite sort of front foot and up in their faces. And then it just, once again, we're just undone by slack defending for a goal, which again is weird because I don't think defensively we've been overly bad. Like, we've not had the mental individual errors that we had last season, but there's still moments where somebody's switching off, or somebody's not picking up a man, or somebody's maybe not stretching a wee bit too far to block a cross or a shot. And it just seems to be like we're in that sort of Groundhog Day type feeling where, you know, last season it was like we weren't getting anything. We just seem to be getting hit purely with bad luck. Whereas now it's almost like we're almost the masters of our own downfall at times. Rather than it being like a mad individual error, it's more a collective of, because you could probably go up the park to say, oh, Bowie never closed it quick enough, and then Cadden let his man run off him on the inside, and then Iredale went too wide and left a gap in between him and Hanley. I'm not saying that's what happened for the Dundee United goal, but you know what I mean? You can really pick it apart that way. Whereas we're just very, very slack at times with that final bit that could maybe prevent a goal.
Yeah, Aiden, we obviously managed to get ourselves back into it. Martin Boyle, who's online anyway, taking a certain amount of stick in recent weeks, but I think that's what he scored, maybe 3 and 4 now, or something like that. So we managed to obviously get back in the game and end, in my opinion anyway, the half on top. How did you see the second half of the first half transpire, and obviously us getting back in the game?
Well, I kind of I agree with what Craig said. Just quickly, the goals that we've conceded recently, just, you know, like you say, these little moments, lapses of concentration that seem to be costing us. You know, I think there's times when, if you're formed slightly better, your momentum kind of helps prevent these goals happening. But right now, we just seem to consistently have, relatively solid performances, and then, I like Craig saying, just these little lapses that are just killing us. So I do agree with that, and I think in terms of probably from like the half hour mark, we kind of started to kick on, and we had a 5 to sort of 10 minute period where it was just like, chance after chance, a few sort of big chances in there. The Bowie one where he's stretched, he's also had two. Ones just went past the post, so that's frustrating. But I thought it was a pretty good response. As I say, I actually thought we started all right as well before we lost the goal. But I thought it was a good response, and we created quite a few chances, and you're just kind of hoping that we can take that momentum on into the second half thereafter. But as I say, some good chances created. Good to see Boyle getting back in amongst the goals, like you said, and good to see him also scoring from sort of open play as opposed to just the penalties that he scored recently.
Yeah. He takes the goal very, very well. It would have Martin Boyle of old, you could probably argue, would, you know,
Kind of reminded me,
fire that
Shaun.
over the bar.
He scored one earlier in the season in the European campaign. I'm just trying to remember. It must have been the uh,
Partizan away.
and just the
Was it
way
Partizan away?
that's right. The way he's kind of swept it home, I thought it was quite similar to that.
Just, you
Good finish.
mentioned about you mentioned about the momentum and confidence as well. Do you reckon if we were in a stronger period, that ball maybe doesn't go right across the goal and somebody is maybe there to tap it in?
I do honestly like even the Rangers goal, the wee lapse when Fernandez finds half a yard to score. I think when you look back on the season, there's going to be games that are quite defining. The one that I still really can't get out of my mind was that 2-2 against Kilmarnock, and these moments where you miss the opportunity to get 3 points, keep building momentum, and sort of a continuation of games and victories. I think things just you naturally get a bit more luck when you've got momentum, and we've been just so stop start now for I don't know a few months, boys. The odd wee run in there, but I think when you're flying and things are ticking on the pitch, these mistakes don't seem to happen quite as often.
Yeah, Craig, I'm keen to get your thoughts on Salinger recently and as well as the game at the weekend. But Aiden, I'll get your thoughts on him first if that's all right as well, because there was a few times where there seemed to be I don't know if it was a miscommunication between him and maybe the back four or the midfield. There was a time he gave Hanley a slack pass. He tried to obviously no dink one over, but play one over the Dundee United front line to go into midfield, and that kind of didn't quite work out either. But on the flip side of that, at times he has been really good with his feet, and his distribution, in my opinion, has been really, really good. And obviously in other games he's kept us in it. Especially, I know we've obviously got beat the Rangers, but kept us in it. How have you seen the change from Salinger coming in?
I think it's been good. I don't know what you boys think, but for me, he's our most solid keeper since Marciano. And you look back over the last 10, 15, 20 years, the amount of goalkeepers that we can list off that clearly weren't good enough or at the levels. So I think in terms of Salinger, I think he's been very positive. You look at some of the goals we were conceding very early in the season, which were just clear errors from Smith, and I think Salinger brings a bit more reassurance on the whole of the defence. He certainly does from the fan base. So I think he's got a lot of good qualities, and I think his distribution on the whole is very good. He's decent with the ball at his feet. Um, there's going to be moments where it doesn't work out for him all the time, passes intercepted, but quite often that's just comes down to decision making and maybe being too eager at times to try and always look for that very quick break, which he's obviously delivered some good long kicks throughout the season. So I think on the whole he's solid. I think he brings confidence to the guys in front of him, and he's not had too many mistakes really since he's came in. So that's kind of my viewing on Salinger.
Craig, what about you? How have you felt about him coming in? And the reason I wanted to obviously get Aiden's take as well as yours is I wonder if we look back at, and this isn't a criticism of Smith, this is more a criticism potentially of David Gray. And I've mentioned that at times David Gray seems to have been too loyal at times to certain individuals since he's came in, and rightly so to an extent because of the run that we had last season. But if he's maybe a little bit more cutthroat with certain individuals or certain players, do we maybe start the season stronger? Do we maybe actually get into group stage European football if we've maybe got a keeper as strong as that, who ultimately was sitting on the bench?
Possibly, but then you could argue that Smith deserved it for his, for what his spot in the team for the run that we went on. Like, I know he had the thing against Aberdeen in his first game where he panned the overhead kick into the top of the net, but beyond that, I can't remember him making too many mistakes. Obviously, I think the difference with Salinger is that he's clearly taller, and he seemed a lot more assured, especially with balls coming into the box. But with the distribution side of things, I think it goes back to when the goalie has the ball, right. That's where your patterns of play start, right. That's where your style of play comes out for the goalie. So what's the purpose? What is the purpose of the goalie putting the ball down on the deck and spraying it out left? Is it to catch? If a team's pressing, you're using the goalie to effectively beat the press. And then you see the one with Chaiwa against Celtic, you can't moan at the goalie if that's how the managers want him to play. But we wouldn't have played like that if it was Smith, because Smith wouldn't have played that kind of ball. So I think it's a bit simplistic to say if Salinger starts the season that he doesn't, that we go on to qualify for group stage European football, because ultimately we probably didn't qualify for group stage because he brought Megwon and Prague, in Warsaw instead of Hanley. But again, that's another story for another day. But no, I agree with Aiden. I think I sort of thought of myself that in terms of as a goalkeeper stature-wise, he very much reminds me of Marciano. Except Marciano was probably a better eccentric shot stopper. I always remember one, I want to say it was like St Mirren at home, and it's fired at him for about 8 yards and he gets down and paws it away. I don't think we get that kind of save for Salinger, but I think his kicking's much better than Rocky's. Rocky's kicking at times was woeful.
Yeah.
But no, I do think your point about loyalty is a good one, but you could go for back to front.
Of course, there's many players in the squad you could do that way.
But no, I've been fairly happy with Salinger. And I don't think, to go back to answer your question, I don't necessarily think we'd find ourselves in a better spot Europe-wise, league-wise, or even cup-wise, because obviously he played at Ibrox, if he'd have started the season as number one.
Yeah. And then if we move into the second half performance as a whole, certainly from my perspective, although it felt at times quite end-to-end, it didn't really feel like at any point we had a real control over the second half. It felt like Dundee United were more in the ascendancy, albeit we were certainly getting into their half and their final third, but again, very powder puff in the final third, which has kind of been the story of recent weeks anyway, which is strange considering how many goals that we have scored, especially earlier on in the season. David Gray goes on to make a triple change, bringing Campbell, Cliche and Levitt on to try and change it up and maybe get a wee bit more creativity via Levitt, and then obviously brings Hoylett and Yuan on. Aiden, how did you see the second half performance? And David Gray's received some criticism again from the support, which is kind of where we probably hear it most, in regards to either timings of subs or the subs that he's made in general. Now, he's made the triple sub very early on in the first half, and probably in reaction to the Dundee United performance and how they've came out in the second half, and then obviously he's made two other further attacking changes. As a collective within the performance and the subs, how did you see that second half?
Disappointing. Firstly, I thought, as I say, the way we'd finished the first half, that's what you're hoping we're going to take into the second half, and like you say, I just felt we really struggled to get going for, I don't know, the opening 15-20 minutes of that match, and the second half, And I think, United definitely were kind of on top. I thought Sapsford was causing us a few problems. I thought his finishing was woeful yesterday at times, because I actually rate him quite highly for what I've seen of him. I think he's a good striker. Um, and yeah, I think the first round of subs did actually help Hibs a little bit at times. I felt at that point we kind of got ourselves back into a wee bit more. That's when we created a few chances thereafter, but I don't think we ever really looked like going on to win that game, to be honest. And the subs are a funny one for me, Shaun. Like, I don't necessarily buy into always like the timing element or the number, because I know Gray's quite consistent around that 60-minute mark. It's usually the 2 or 3 subs, and my questions are more like, do we actually have enough depth in certain areas of the park? I.e., I'm looking at centre midfield. Obviously, with Cadden dropping out, everyone's spoken about the fullback position, and I actually think up top, we're still lacking massively. I don't think we're getting the best out of Bowie yet, by sort of playing him as a sort of target man at times. So I think that's where my concerns are in terms of the subs. I think we're lacking depth in that squad. Um, and yeah, as I say, I felt like one thing I was watching, I was trying to like take a closer look at Levitt, 'cause I've barely seen him this year, and he was obviously very good last year. And I don't know what you guys think. Like, I feel he's a bit more dynamic than Barlasa, in terms of getting about and creating spaces. And I wonder if, I actually think a lot of our problems stem from the centre midfield. I really like Mulligan's been phenomenal this season, but who do you play in alongside him? And I think that's where I think it's been kind of talked about quite a lot across different podcasts. But is Barlasa really the man for that role? I don't know what your thoughts are on those things, guys.
Yeah, Craig, what's your thoughts on kind of Levitt as a whole? Because as Aiden's already mentioned, he was one of our key players in that midfield at times last season, and Aiden said already, like, if you look at Mulligan or McGrath, they're in that area as well and have been fantastic for us as well, and yet at times we're maybe getting the best out of them individually, but maybe not as a collective. Do you think it's maybe time for somebody like Dylan Levitt to come in instead of Barlasa, and or what does David Gray need to do to change it up to get more out of the players that we have?
I think it just goes back a wee bit, and again, I put this on Twitter the other day. I think it's a symbol of individually recruitment was good, but over the piece, recruitment was woeful in the summer. Like, we did not replace Miller, we did not replace Triantis, we did not replace Miko, and we did not replace Gale. You can look at all, but we signed Clegy, we signed Mulligan, we signed. It doesn't matter. Like, at no point did we replace any of those players. Now, it's going to be really hard to replace those players. I mean, I think there was something about Miko that when you looked at his stats from a pressing perspective, he was one of the best in the league last season. For the amount of, when you look at these, like, what is it, stats bomb, data radars and all that, like his presses on defences and the sort of turnovers that he forced, the mistakes that he forced and all that was really, really high. And we've just no replaced what he gives us up front. We've tried to mould Bowie into that. And I think we all got a bit carried away in the summer when Bowie was playing that job against these sort of continental centre halves that maybe didn't like a bit too much contact. So he did look quite imposing, quite physical. And then you come back to our league and he's up against guys like John Suter, Craig Halkett, guys at Livingston that have been there for donkey's years, guys at Dundee United that are just, their meat and drink is somebody want to be physical with them. And it just, like I say, it just goes over the piece that while guys like Mulligan, McGrath, Salinger, etc. have been good, and I do think will come good, it just left us lacking in so many other places. And especially I know people going about Triantis, but Lewis Miller for me is probably the biggest loss. What he gave us for that sort of underlapping right centre half role hasn't been replaced. Warren O'Hara's not going to give you the same thing, and it probably covered up for a lot of Cadden's deficiencies last season, because if Miller was going forward, it allowed Cadden to maybe tuck in a wee bit more, and he was a bit more protected. When it comes to Levitt, it just seems to be we're now, and this might come across a bit harsh, but we're now back into that Lee Johnson tombola era, where it's, we go to Ibrox on Monday night, Ellie Ewan's no kicked his arse probably in about 18 months, and he starts. And then it comes back to Saturday, but Boyle starts. Then we've got, obviously, Mitchell were enforced, but then Bowie just gets another run, despite offering quite little at Ibrox.
Do you think instances like that are more David Gray? Me and Liam spoke about this a few weeks back. David Gray knows that at some point these players could provide individual magic, and there's then a reliance on, let's just leave them in and hope something happens, rather than being proactive and actively changing it and bringing like a Clegy in, for example.
But it's how long you leave it, because we've now been waiting. I mean, I know Bowie had a decent game against Falkirk. Obviously, took his goal really well. Mulligan was sensational against Falkirk, and then went missing at Ibrox, and he never went missing at Tannadice, but he was more industrious than anything else yesterday. I think, and I know we sort of clamoured for it last season. We said he needs to go to a back three. Like, this team is screaming out for us to go to a back three, and it worked. But now it's all that we've got, and that seems to be the big issue for me. It's no necessarily the players themselves; it's the system that they're being forced to play in. And it very much seems as if we've got one or two ways of playing, which is try and get it up to Bibby and see if it sticks, or move it about the back into a centre mid to go out to Cadden, to come back into centre mid, to maybe go back to Hanley, to move it out to Iredale, to go out to the other Cadden. Like, there doesn't seem to be any zip in our play, there doesn't seem to be any intensity in our play, and there doesn't seem to be any urgency in our play either, to the point where, you reference all the subs that we made, we end up playing like a 4-1-5 or a 4-2-4. And it seems as we're almost in that. David Gray's almost now just trying to just
get something to stick and get something to
throw stuff at the wall and see what sticks.
Yeah.
You've now out of nowhere then comes Alice Anamani. He's on the bench. You've then got Joe Newell comes on for the last half an hour on Monday, but isn't he seen yesterday? And I know you can't change the same players every week, but he does it with the forwards. Cleegy's guaranteed to come on at 60-65 minutes. Hoylett's guaranteed to come on at X minutes, and then Ewan's guaranteed to come on if he doesn't start for the last 5-10 minutes. I think this team is now set up for, whether it be a 4-3-3 if you want to call it that, or like a 4-2-3-1 type thing, or even just a flat basic 4-4-2. Because Hearts have played a 4-4-2 this season quite a lot, and it seems to have worked. And I watched them against Rangers today, and Rangers couldn't get through them, and they were playing a 4-4-2. Rangers couldn't do anything. And now I know this is a pretty poor Rangers team, but you're not trying to tell me that we couldn't play a 4-4-2 and find ourselves hard to beat, but also be quite entertaining and attacking on the counter. Came Boyle on the right, Ewan on the left, Clegy and Bowie up front. That sounds like a pretty entertaining front four that I'd like to watch.
Yeah.
I think just jumping in on that as well, just quickly, like, I think you're right in terms of the system. Like, when Gray changed it last year, obviously on the back of that dreadful start, and we switched to a back three, it was also a massive success. I feel like it was almost a bit of a trendsetter when you look at teams across the league. Have utilised that quite a lot this year, and I kind of wonder if he's just too rigid in terms of like his system. And as I say, I feel like with the recruitment being based around that system and the lack of recruitment in a couple of areas, I think that's cost us massively, and it's really shown. I think just going back to Bowie, I think coming through, Bowie often played as a winger, as a deeper sort of forward, and he just offers a lot more technically. Some of his play is good as that sort of lead target, but I
I
just
think we're
think
trying to mould him into Dykes because we couldn't get Dykes at the
exactly.
end of August.
And I think, if Dykes does come in, I think you'll see a totally different Bowie. I think it will kind of unleash Bowie to go and do
Yeah.
all the things he's capable of. And to say, I think that's where we're lacking in terms of what's coming in off the bench.
That would certainly be a good way to prep for winning the World Cup. Having Boyle and Bowie and Dykes up top together for 6 months, get them ready for
Absolutely.
America.
But
Um,
just to touch on what you said, just to go back a wee bit, Sean, like it's now getting quite concerning that what is being said at half time when the players come out looking so lethargic. I think we can all agree the best half of football we played this season was against Kilmarnock at Easter Road. That 45 minutes in the first half was unbelievable. We were brilliant. We were on the front foot. We were constant. And then obviously they scored a wonder goal, bang on half time, and it kind of sets us back a wee bit. But then it's sort of started a pattern where we come out in the second half. It's almost like when there's a wee bit of adversity in the second half, these same players that were under so much adversity last season and rose up to the occasion, just now aren't doing it. And I don't know if it's because you had so many of that team overperforming out with their natural abilities. Like you look at like guys like Iredale who was on the bench for Bolton. Nicky Cadden was a free agent after being released by Barnsley, I think. They come up here and they were brilliant. Rocky wasn't even getting in the team last season. What was it, that 4-0 game at Dundee when he started, and then he made an arse of something, and then he ended up for the fourth goal. But these players then went on a run where Rocky looked like he was the best fucking centre half we'd ever seen. Nicky Cadden had a left foot like a wand. Miko was a bustling, energetic, physical centre forward. Martin Boyle was in pockets, picking up balls, scoring goals left, right, and centre. Whereas now, it seems as if you have that season where like Michu, right? Mind that season with Michu with Swansea when he was fucking unbelievable,
yep.
and then he just disappeared. That seems to be like what's happened with these guys. I'm not saying they've went for being great players to shit players, but we're now seeing the level that they're naturally meant to be at, and that is them reflecting in the performances that we're putting in week after week.
Aiden, at what point does it get to the stage where, because we're in a busy match period at the minute, obviously we've had Rangers away, Dundee United away, and then this festive period is always busy, and it always seems to be that we get these tough fixtures around then as well. With Bowie not performing to the level that we either expect him to or know that he can, what do you think it'll take for Cleege to maybe get a wee run of games, and do you think that is that what he maybe needs as well? Because we've seen in very small spells, he's got a good leap on him, he's fast, and he can finish. So what's it going to take for him to actually get a wee run in the team? And do you think that could potentially solve one of our problems?
Yeah, it's a good question. Like, I think we all thought we were starting to see a bit more of him when Gray started on, 2, 3 games in a row. He got the goal against Livingston. Who else did he score against in that wee run? But we started to see.
Aberdeen as well.
That's right, and we started to see a bit more of him, and I think everyone was quite excited by a couple of his performances. His movement was good. The Aberdeen one in particular, I thought um, he was very clever in terms of his movement his movement off the Aberdeen defence and how that allowed us to stretch them on the counter at times, and so that's something that for me he brought. He looks pretty strong in there for a wee guy, decent finisher. I thought he could have done a wee bit better with his chance against United on Saturday. To be honest, it was a bit barely got.
And that's a shame though, because folk are using that to say, well, that's why he's not getting a game. But if he's playing 60, 70 minutes every week rather than 10, 15 minutes every week, he's going to be a bit sharper in those situations.
Of course, it's hard to come into that kind of the pace of these games and impact them immediately. So I was a bit disappointed with that, but I don't know. I feel like Cliche is another one that would benefit from playing alongside a Dykes as opposed to a Bowie. I just think between our sort of Boyle, Bowie, and Cliche, there's a lot of similarities. I think between Boyle, in terms of what Boyle and Cliche can offer going forward. I think Boyle's can be played in obviously different positions. So
Do you think there's a world where all three could play in the front three roles? So you could hypothetically have Bowie through the middle, and then you could have the other two feeding off a Bowie as like a narrow front three, and then obviously if you've got your wing backs, do you think that could ever be a world that we could see?
Don't see why not.
But as Gray, like I think we all know, it's not going to happen under Gray by the looks of it.
You'd rather put Josh Campbell out there on the left than Cleege?
Aye.
I think Shaun definitely would.
The only reason I say if we can find the right balance in the midfield, and obviously with an all fully fit squad, if you had like Cadden on the right, and then you have our normal back three, and then you've got either Obita or Nicky Cadden on the other side, and if you can find a real balanced two in the middle, whether it be Mulligan and Barlassa or Mulligan and McGrath, it would probably be the first one out of the two if you're doing that kind of system. And then I'm not saying the front three would be right up against, like, let's just say Hearts' back three, if they were to play a back three, or a Rangers back three like Rangers play today. You're not necessarily moulding Bowie into a Dykes kind of target man or like a Grant Holt, but you're giving him that option where he can still get in and amongst it, still be physical with the defenders like he was in the European fixtures, but then you've then got the threat of Boyle and Cleege either side of him to feed off of either the crosses coming in or the longer balls, which in recent weeks I've seen so many long balls for this Hibs side, and without that pace up top, it's just it's not going to work. But I guess that's why I'm sitting here and David Gray sitting up at East Mains doing tactical sessions with the team. So,
but I think what that maybe would offer, Shaun, is just more runners going forward. I think a lot of the time when it goes into Bowie, there's nothing beyond him, so we're automatically having to go back. Whereas if you've got a couple, guys playing closer to him, like I feel like McGrath, he plays a lot deeper. He drops a lot more on the left hand side, and I feel like at times we're lacking runners in terms of going beyond Bowie. So I think that having more players in around him would definitely help. But do I think David Gray's going to change it and do that, or do I think he should? Not necessarily. Like I kind of trust him.
If we were to play that kind of shape with those players, hypothetically, you could have like an Iredale or a Rocky step out of that back three if Mulligan was to go on a run and go forward, or McGrath was to go on a run and go forward, and it would still give us a back four or potentially five, depending on how your shape. You know what I mean? Depending on what side of the play the ball is on, you can just dictate it that way. Is how I would see it. But again, like you said, are we going to see something like that in a David Gray side? Probably not. Boys, what we'll do now is we'll move on to the listener questions before Aiden, you've already indicated that you're going to put in a Shan performance in the quiz, so we'll see what that turns out to be.
I'm hit or miss.
As long as it's not like the last quiz that was fucking hypotheticals and...
Oh, Craig, it's been that long since you've been on, I can't even remember what that one was. I've had about 10 bangers since then.
It was brutal.
So we'll do the listener questions first.
Now it's time to answer the Hibs Ramble listener questions.
Instagram before we go into the Twitter ones, but naturally, before I do that, in Hibs Ramble tradition, Aiden, what have you had or are you having for Scran tonight?
I had a lovely roast chicken dinner, mate. Delicious.
Outstanding. That's a high
Talk us
bar.
through it. You need to talk us through it. What was on the plate?
What was on the plate? Well, the fridge is a wee bit lacking because we're actually travelling back down to Edinburgh and East Lothian tomorrow. So we had obviously a bit of chicken, sage and onion stuffing. I made some roasted carrots with a bit of salt and honey glaze on them. They were good. They were good.
Aye.
Bit of green veg and good old roasties and a bit of gravy.
Brilliant. That sounds so good. And I didn't even
Filled,
care what I'm
filled a
having for the
spot
night.
price.
Craig,
That's. I had sausage, mash, and beans, mate.
fuck me. That's 2 tremendous dinners, by the way.
Well,
That's top.
Sausage, mash, and beans, mate. You can't beat it.
And I didn't even care. I know what I'm having for my lunch tomorrow because I'm having a Christmas dinner for my lunch tomorrow at work, but I don't know what I'm having for dinner the night. So
It'll be some seafood linguine or some nonsense like
I've not had
that.
a prawn linguine in a while, you know.
No.
Nah, I had two lots of pasta yesterday.
Based
for
on your
lunch and dinner.
Instagram, you'll be going out for your tea. You'll never know. Putting photos up of fucking restaurants that you're at.
Hey, I like to eat well. What can I say? Yes, the questioning from Instagram kind of touches on what we've already spoke about. So, we seemed so toothless. Created quite a few chances, but so little goals recently. What does Clegy need to do to get an 11, or do we need to re-recruit in the January transfer window? I'll let either of you take that one.
We need to have boys lined up for January 1st. I think we can't be sitting waiting until the end of the transfer window like we did to get Barlasser and Mitchell and eventually miss out on Dykes. Like, I've no doubt that the club will be being proactive, and again, January's probably really hard because you're waiting on teams moving players out. They need to get players in before they can move players out. But I hope that we are proactive in terms of Clegy getting a start. I mean, if you listen to the rumour mills, Gray doesn't rate him, and he doesn't rate Chaiwa either. So it begs the question as to why was so much money spent on bringing the pair of them in.
When David Gray apparently has the final say.
Final say.
Yeah.
So, aye. I honestly don't know what Clegy needs to do because Boyle's probably kept his place for Saturday because he scored, and Bowie will keep his place for Saturday because we don't seem to have any alternative to Bowie at the minute.
Yeah. Gav Dix said that he's very unconfident, not been this unconfident going into a derby in a while.
Unconfident?
That's what he says, unconfident. Unconfident. I know you and Gav get on very well.
This is why I stepped away the last time, mate. I couldn't handle this.
Not being this unconfident. So Gav Dick's not confident heading into the derby, which probably goes with a fair amount of support. But like any derby, the closer it comes, the more confident some of us may get, and then the further it gets on in the day, and depending on how much drink everyone has, we're probably even more confident. Should have taken off Boyle before Bowie, and taking McGrath off wasn't the right move. Overall meh performance from us yesterday. How did you feel at the end of the game? Did you feel a bit like great, lacklustre, bit meh? How was that come full time?
I just feel very bored with Hibs now, mate. I can't lie. I just feel very bored. Like, there's no... it's all fine and well beating Falkirk and Dundee at home, but then you look at the teams that are above us, so Hearts, Celtic, Rangers, Motherwell. I think I seen something the other day. We've scored 1 goal in those games. Now, I could be talking absolute shite, but I seen something the other day that we've scored 1 goal in games against Celtic, Hearts, Rangers and Motherwell, sorry. And in those games, you could argue we've not laid a glove on any of them, and it makes it even more frustrating when you watch these other teams like Dundee getting a result against Celtic at Dens Park. You watch the way Hearts just toyed with Rangers today, completely toyed with them. And yet, every time we've played Rangers this season, we've just completely sat off them. So, very, very bored with Hibs at the minute. There's just nothing. I'm not angry like last season when we were doing these podcasts. We were fuming, like we were raging week in, week out. I'm just bored.
Nigel said similar tones in all the comments and replies actually. Nigel's genuinely worried about next week. I can't see how we get a result. We can't match the same intensity in our play for both halves, which you have both already touched on, and we're far too predictable in how we set up, again something that we spoke about. I feel that the grey doomsday clock is almost at midnight, and hate to be so pessimistic, but same old every week.
It'll be a cold day in hell before I ever shit it for them.
Aiden, best opportunity to put the wrongs right in recent weeks is the fixture that we've got coming up. Obviously, we'll touch on the game in a wee bit more detail after the quiz, but how how do you see it going into that game? How are you feeling?
Eh, I still don't see much in the game. Like, I know Hearts are flying. I think the big difference between Hearts and everyone else this year is literally momentum, because I think if you go through their team individually, I don't think they're far superior to anyone else in the league. I think where they've just done better this year is they've got more goal scorers in their team. Like, compare our numbers versus theirs, it's alarming based on the strikers that we normally produce or have. So I still don't see much in the game. It is obviously worrying in terms of how they performed today. They did toy with Rangers, had big chances, could have been easily more than two. But I think we're going into like one of these ugly sort of one goal derbies. To be honest, I don't see much football being played, but hopefully we're due a performance, boys. Like, you know, what better way
What
to?
better way?
It needs to happen, and it has to happen against one of our so-called bigger rivals, like, because the performances this year against the teams in the top half of the league haven't been anywhere near good enough. So I think I could deal with a poor performance providing we get the result. I only see a goal in it, to be honest. So hopefully it's in our favour.
A lot.
I've seen Derek McInnes teams with guys like and when they were younger, Graham Shinney, Kenny McLean, Johnny Hayes, Adam Rooney, Niall McGinn, Gary Mackay-Steven. I've seen teams like that come to Easter Road and shitfest behind the ball for 90 minutes. So it wouldn't surprise me, regardless of how well they are doing, to see McInnes set them up to do that again on Saturday. I would argue, this will be their biggest test. This will be their biggest test. But if they can come through that, then they're serious. They're serious contenders, I think. But it's weirdly, the pressure does go onto them, because if you take away the fucking nonsense about the Derby record, Ken, who gives a fuck about games played in the 1870s and the 1880s? Like, they are bookies' favourites more often than not to beat us. They expect to beat us, but not everyone else expects them to beat us. So it's how they can actually deal with that, and if they can deal with that. But like I said, I've seen McInnes come to Easter Road and shit the bed with players who are probably better at the time than what they've got just now. But he's got, like what we did last season, he's got players playing above the sum of the parts. Like Cammy Devlin actually looks like a half-decent football player now, and it riles me.
I've seen a few Rangers fans saying that they should sign up Cammy Devlin on a free contract. So
I think Devlin's suspended next week as well, boys. So I think that's a positive.
it's probably a negative for us because he's fucking terrible. I'd probably rather he was playing. A lot of the other comments and replies are all about if we lose the derby, the knives will be out for David Gray. Must win. A couple of comments about Mitchell and how good his performance was. When's Bowie going to start getting the job done? One about asking how big the gap is. Well, Craig, you've already answered that earlier on. And then there's one about who potentially replaces Gray if we get a horse in next week, which one I don't think we will be in. Two, I don't think David Gray would get the sack.
No.
It's not something.
If Lee Johnson can survive two back-to-back 3-0 defeats,
Yeah.
then regardless of what the fans, we seen it last season, right, when we were on that shite run, whose name was getting chanted? David Gray's name was getting chanted, and all the ire went towards the board. Block 7 need to just turn the banner upside down again. I think it's never went right since they turned it right way up.
Aye. Put it upside down again, Block 7 if you're listening. Right, boys. Don't care about anything else. Don't care about Dundee United. Don't care about Hearts. Don't care about listener questions. The listeners only come here for the quiz. Tonight's quiz is a guess the age quiz.
Fucking hell, man.
So what I have, the lowest score wins, right? Craig, as a resident rambler, you will be going first. Got 5 names in front of me for you, with their ages. You need to then guess what their current age is, and the lowest score. So hypothetically, let's just say he's not on this list, right? But let's just say John Hughes. I don't even know what age John Hughes is, but let's just say he's like fucking 60. If you said 65, that would give you a score of 5 because you're 5 out. And then obviously you want to try and get the lowest amount to score. And then Aiden, you'll have 5 names thrown at you after. Aiden, feel free to Google some random names if you want, because I can guarantee you you'll not have the 5 I have. That's all I'm saying. They're all former Hibs players, of course. Right, Craig, are you ready?
As ready as I'll ever be, mate.
Okay, player number 1 on the Guess the Age quiz is Joseph Newell. How old
Joe Newell.
is Joseph Newell?
Joe Newell. He's definitely in his 30s. I'll go 32.
That would give you a score of 0 because 32 is correct.
Damn it.
32 is correct. What a fantastic start. Right. Next. We love him. We love his son, Gary O'Connor.
Oh, O'Connor, right. Let me work back with this, because he would have been 2002. He made his debut, or 2001. 17,
This
18.
is when you'll notice, if you haven't already, that the encyclopedia of Hibs is Craig Leach, and he just pulls figures, facts, games, goal scorers, starting 11s out his arse from random games in the 90s and early 2000s. So, hence why he's going first.
17, he would have been when he made his debut. So what's that? 17, so 2001. So 17, 2001. Add 23, 24, depending on when his age is. 50.
That would give you a score of 8 because he's 42.
He's 42.
Gary O'Connor.
Gary O'Connor is 42.
He's definitely
42.
50.
Yeah.
50. No, wait a minute. If he would have been, of course he. Oh, right. Oh, fucking hell. My bad.
You remember, he didn't. He's not like Cristiano Ronaldo still playing all this time later on.
No, but I don't know. I don't know why I went 50. Fucking hell. Miles away.
Right. Next on the list, Craig, you've even got me fucking re-googling this to make sure I was actually right. Fuck you. Right. Next on the list, with a current score of +8, John O'Neill. How old is John O'Neill?
John O'Neill. Oh, right, okay. So when did he sign for us? 2001. 2001, and then he got a Scotland. So he got a Scotland cap no long after that, right? Scotland. I'm sure we played Poland away, and he got a cap.
This is what I've got to put up with when I make quizzes.
So he's, and then he was what, captain after that. So he'd have been about 29, 30 when he signed for us. And then he would have left. So I'll go, I don't know why I said this for O'Connor, but I'm going to go similar ages for John O'Neill, because he's about 20 years retired, I'd say.
Okay.
So I'll say 55.
That will give you a total score of 9 because he's 54. He's 54.
Good answer, mate.
Okay.
Fuck's sake.
Hibs fans loved him so much, they named him 3 times Keith Wright.
Oh, he'll be older than that. He'll definitely be older than that, because he was in his mid-30s when he left us. In the 90s, so I'll go. I'm still on. I can't believe I went 50 for Gary O'Connor, man. Fuck me.
Raging when he watches this back.
60. I'll go 60 for Keith Wright.
That'll give you a total score of 9 because he is 60.
Oh, good answer.
That O'Connor one's going to haunt me, by the way. Jesus Christ.
And the last one, before you get your total score and see what Aiden's got to play with. Miguel Chaiwa. How old is he?
Ooh. He's 21.
And after 5 names, 5 rounds, you have a total score of 9 because he is 21. Craig Leach, you're a freak.
No, I just remember that for when he signed. All the press releases, he was 21.
I didn't realise he was so young. Right. Aiden, are you as ready as you'll ever be?
Absolutely. You've done yourself in on O'Connor there, mate, because that was a pretty impressive round.
That's left you in it a wee bit. A couple of good ages.
If I'd have said, I don't know why I said 50, because if I said he made his debut at 17 in 2001, I don't know how the fuck I ended up at 1973 or 1974 rather than 84.
Okay. Aiden, number 1 for you. Jason Cummins.
Who's the underdog now? That's a good question. So I reckon he's now scarily in his 30s, and I'm going to probably I'm kind of early 30s still, but I wonder how old he is these days. Let me think.
You actually didn't realise, just while you're thinking, see when you see the age of players like that now, and you realise you're not actually that much older than them, but at the time you felt like you were way older than them.
I see. I'm definitely older than Cummings, I know that, but I'm just trying to work out. I'm going to put him round about kind of down by 31, 32, Shaun. So I'm going to go 30. You say he's 32?
Okay. That will give you a score of 2 because he's 30. You should have went with 31. Yeah,
should have went 31, aye.
30 this year. Okay. Next one on the list. Former Hibs captain, Ian Murray.
Ian Murray. So Ian Murray is. So I remember him when he made his debut. I'm trying to think what year that was that he made his debut. It was under McLeish, so that must have been early 90s. So I reckon he's about. I think he's just a wee bit older than me. So I'm going to put Ian Murray at. Where have I got him? Let me rack my brains here, Shaun.
Right. You can use Craig's logic as well.
I think 2000 he would have made his debut. Away at Dundee United, I'm sure.
Was it 2000? So.
Aye, and that came what he made his debut when we still had the Saturn badge, no with the current badge.
I'm going to have him born, must have been 83, so 42.
That'll give you a total score of 4 because he's 44.
Oh, fuck's sake. So he's a couple of years older than O'Connor as well.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Still just about in it.
Aye, still there. Still we got three to go, so well within a shout. Okay, another former Hibs captain. Did you see his uncle there? He's a wee shite, man, honestly. I'm not even going to apologise to anybody watching at home. You've probably just seen a humongous set of balls in an arsehole, and it's no the three
It's not you for a change.
It's no us. Brilliant. Cheers, pal. I'm not even going to get Liam to edit that out. Former Hibs captain, Murdo McLeod.
Malcolm McLeod. So again, he played in that same team with Keith Wright. I reckon he's similar ages to Keith, maybe a fraction older. So what have I got Murdo McLeod at? because he was old when the League Cup winners team. I'm sure he was in his late 30s at that stage. So where have I got him? 60, 65? Kind of plucking that number. I'm probably close, but
That'll give you a total score of 6 because for the third one in a row, you're 2 out.
again. Was he
67.
67?
67. Yeah. So you're well within a shout here because obviously Craig had 9. Craig had a +8 and a +1. So he's on 9 and you're currently on 6 with 3 +2s. So if you keep that up, you're doing all right. Okay, we're obviously playing Hearts next. This guy scored in one of the most iconic derby in recent years, or modern era, should I say. Mixu Patalainen.
Mixu Patalainen. What a signing, eh? Where are we at with Mixu? It's funny, he was up here just a couple of weeks ago doing some stuff around the schools. What age have I got Mixu at? So again, he's what's that, Johnny Neal era? I'm gonna. I think he was older than Johnny Neal. I'm gonna put him in at 54.
Okay, that will give you a score of +10.
Oh fucking hell!
Because that's a +4. You're 4 out. So
Is he
Craig,
49?
you're the winner. He's 58. 58. What did you say? You said 54, eh?
54, aye.
54. He's 58.
There you go. He's a bit older than I thought.
I'm sure he was like in his. I want to say he was about 31 even when he signed for us.
I suppose he was
30,
playing
31.
United under. Did he play under Tommy
Jim
McLean?
McLean.
Under United.
Jim McLean, aye.
Aye.
Yeah, Jim McLean, obviously, aye.
And
Almighty.
we ended Craig's 5 with a current Hibs midfielder, and we'll end your 5 with a current Hibs midfielder in Josh Campbell.
Josh Campbell. Let's see that these days again. He's been around for a while now, Josh. Eh? Where have I got him? I've not got the analytical breakdown of Craig here, but I'm just going to pluck a number out the sky based on where I think he's at roughly. I reckon
Now
he
that
must
you know
be.
that there's no chance of you winning.
I've fucking lost it anyway, so let's go. He must be about, I don't know, 26, 27 these days. I'll go 27.
I would have went 26 to be fair.
Well, there's a reoccurring theme here again, because you were 2
2 out.
out. He was 25. 25.
Nah, you're not far off it like.
Which, in fairness, is a tremendous performance from both of you, to be fair. I think that's impressive. So, listeners, whether it be on YouTube or Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to this nonsense, DM us or reply or comment. Let us know what you've got for the first 5 and the second 5. What was your total score? Let's see how close you were. Right, boys.
Just quickly, Shaun, having just sat through that, I have to say I might impress Craig. Three on the nose. That's good going. That's good going. Tell you, I wish I had your 5.
Craig, you're not getting as much smoke from me, mate, because I just expect you to get full marks in pretty much everything that we do nowadays.
That O'Connor one's gonna do my fucking boxing like.
I've got a few other quizzes lined up for future episodes when you're on them that will test your knowledge, maybe a wee bit more. So, aye. We won't dwell on it too much because of how they're doing more than anything else. But Craig, before we look back at previous derby performances, victories, goals, which I asked you to have a wee think about, how are you feeling going into the derby?
Again, very bored. Like it's probably not even registering just purely because of the run that we're on. I think not even taking into account the run that they're on, but the way we've been playing, like it'll kick in like Boxing Day, like the night before, and and then on the day, obviously, you wake up and you realise what day it is. But I'm no, and I hate the cliche that form goes out the window, but it does. Like, how many times have we, like, look at that season, the COVID season. Like, that is the only time in my life that I have genuinely went to a game thinking we're going to fucking turn them over. Like, and I mean turn them over. And we ended up getting our pants pulled down and got beat 3-1. So, at the same token, I'm not buying into everybody saying, oh, they're going to leather us 6 or 7, because that was meant to happen at Tynecastle last time, and it was a poorly defended goal for us that separated us. So, no, I'm no panicking, but at the same time, I'm no necessarily looking forward to it. At the same time,
Yeah. Aiden, if there was ever an opportunity for the support to get back together, David Gray to get things right, the players to get back on track with the season, because obviously we had such a poor season last season and we're kind of up and down this season, you couldn't ask, arguably, for a better fixture to have than the Edinburgh Derby. Am I right?
Aye, absolutely. I think, like, just from a personal perspective, guys, I'm buzzing for it because it'll be my first league game of the season. First time I've got to use my season ticket this year, because I am about a 6 hour drive each way. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm gutted it's an early kick-off because I was looking forward to getting out on the peeve, but that doesn't appear to be happening. So hopefully we get a result and we get out and party after the match. I alluded to it earlier. I think it will be a scrappy game. I don't see much in it. I don't think there ever really is much in it. I think my biggest concern is in terms of how this year's went. You know, when we have kind of picked up a win to kind of try and get going after a loss. It's not been against a team of sort of Hearts standard or Rangers or Celtic. It's always been a Dundee we've beaten or a Livingston or, you know, teams that we kind of, you are expecting us to win this year. So I'm going to say fingers crossed that we come out on the right side of it and buys Davy Gray a bit more breathing space again. But I'm not surprised people are starting to circle. It doesn't take long, and with what's unfolded, rightly so at times. I personally just hope that this is it has to happen soon. So hopefully it's this game. Our form starts to turn again, and we can kick on and actually start competing the rest of the season. Otherwise, it's going to be a disappointing few months ahead.
Just before we bring the episode to a close, I want 3 things from either of you. I want, and you must have attended the match, you must have been at Easter Road when it happened. Favourite recent derby, favourite recent goal in an Edinburgh derby, and a derby moment. And I'll let Aiden go. I'll let Aiden go first as the guest.
What remind me again what the three are, Shaun?
Favourite Edinburgh derby.
Yeah.
You can go as far back as early 2000s or whatever, just whatever springs to mind. Favourite Edinburgh derby goal. Try and exclude the 6-2 for obvious reasons, because that's probably up there for all 3 of us, for all 3 of these categories. And favourite Edinburgh derby moment.
The game, like, the derby that always springs to my mind. I was kind of 17, 18 at the time, and it was the 2003 derby at Easter Road, and I think, am I right in saying Brebner got sent off and we're down to 10 men?
We only need 10 men derby.
That's right, aye, and
Boy
Connor stepped up and
got arrested for trying to attack the ref at half time.
was that derby? Was it? Well, it was funny because you know when O'Connor scores the winner in the 93rd minute.
Yep.
I remember it was old Terracing at the time, and we used to sit, you know, a few blocks from the away end, and I've seen my mate dive straight over onto the pitch, and you know, young boys straight in on the pitch. Big hug with Daniel Anderson live on the BBC. So that personally it's a bit of a highlight for me, and I do remember going back to a warm reception for the local Hibbies that night. So that's probably the derby that I go back to quite a lot. That era was like my glory days, 14 to 18. There were some good teams and some good moments back then.
Craig, what about your favourite game in recent times?
Recent times, I'd probably go. So probably go the cup game under Lennon. I just think with them being in the Premier League at the time, obviously we'd come off winning it the year before. I want to be right in saying that was also a replay. I'm sure we drew 0-0 at
3-0.
Tynecastle.
Aye.
3-1. Was it 3-1?
Sorry, 3-1. Was it? Aye, it was.
Got absolutely robbed of a fourth for Darren McGregor as well.
Should have been more.
I'd probably say that game. Like that game was almost like that's where the 2-0 up and you fucked it up started. Jason Cummins scores right in front of them and he's at the like lifting the trophy in front of them, and Grant Holt was incredible Holt celebration with a dab and all that. So I'd probably say in recent times, like that's in terms of a game that I think you can enjoy from start to finish. Is probably that one under Lennon now, the 3-1 game in the cup.
What about favourite goal, Aiden?
Kind of one that I can't get out of my mind. You'll need to enlighten me on the year it was, but
Oh, Mr. Encyclopedia over here, I'll do that for you, don't you worry.
yeah, Derby at Tynecastle. We only sold about half to three quarters of the stand that day, and Sparky scored the raker a free kick from about 35 yards. Gave it the old thumbs up to the Jambos. That was probably one of the best Derby goals I've ever seen in terms of probably I can't actually remember a many Hibs player that could strike a ball like Lee Griffiths struck a ball, and that one certainly sticks out for me.
I completely agree. Craig, correct me if I'm wrong, was that 2013?
2013. It was before the cup final. It was in the bottom six though, because that's when Griffiths was going for 30 league goals, I think.
That's right, aye.
And then Caldwell scores the winner.
Yep.
And nobody realises that if he doesn't score, we should get a Stonewall penalty because
They absolutely should.
Danny Wilson, I'm sure it's Danny Wilson, absolutely wipes out Scott Robertson.
I remember it. Me and Liam actually spoke about it a couple of episodes ago. It was part of one of the quizzes that we had.
What a fucking celebration that was like.
What about you, Craig?
Favourite goal? It's hard. I've got two. Like you can't look past Latipi's. Like Latipi's goal was just the control, the wee Cruyff turn into Mixu, the dink volley. I think a wee bit's taken off of it because Niemi gets his hands to the volley a wee bit.
Yeah.
So he almost parries it in rather than it rasping past them. But
so if we were to exclude that, what would your?
I'd say it's between two Riordans. The one where he cuts in for the right and just leathers it beyond Gordon for 40 yards, or there's one where he, in Mowbray's first season, he takes it down the touchline. No, down the touchline, down the edge of the box, past Robbie Nielsen, and left foot just fucking. It's like a laser. Laser right across Craig Gordon and at the top corner. That was. If I'm going to say like a goal that gives me goosebumps when I see it, I know that was in a draw. But and then you've got obviously more recent ones like Scott Allen's one, the wee daisy cutter was a belter, and then obviously Jack Iredale's last season was a peach as well. But if I was pushed, I'd say the Riordan one in about 2002.
To bring us to a close, we'll close with favourite Derby moment. So that can be anything. It can be a celebration, a red card, a goal, an assist, a game, a night out after, whatever. I think I could hazard, I guess, what might fall into Craig's one. So I'll let you go first, Aiden.
Best Derby moment. Oh, that's a good question, Shaun. I'm not sure there's been too many over the years, sadly. Like you reference just in terms of like an image that sticks out in my mind, and it's not just because it happened to do a podcast with that name, but when the Natural Order derby where obviously Alan bangs in the second and they unfurl that banner, that for me it kind of stands out as one of the most iconic derby moments, and sadly, there's not been as many as them as there should have been over the years with some of the decisions we've had. But that stands out for me. I thought that was pretty special, to be honest.
Craig?
Mixu and Sawsey doing the jig in front of the Old West, I think.
That's
I
good.
think it was in front of the Old West. Or when Mixu scores his third and he does his wee front flip and he bangs up most of the YL. Well, I'm curious, what did you think mine was going to be?
For a moment, I thought in recent years you might have mentioned the Martin Boyle comeback in the late equaliser. When he came back from...
Aye, sorry, right enough. I think, no, I think that's one of my favourite all-time. No, just Derby, that's one of my favourite all-time moments. Like that day when we found out he was in this, there was rumours that he'd signed, and then you see him in the squad, and then, just perfect. That day, like we've spoke about it many a times. Like you didn't really get home limbs. It's always away limbs you get, but that was I've no heard Easter Road since maybe Bowie's goal against Partizan for a pure noise, but that release when Boyle scored that goal was unreal. It reminds me when and I've said this before as well, when Riordan first came back and he came out to warm up for the first time and the ground just erupted. Yeah. It was the same when Boyle came back, so that was good. But then also a special mention to Benji for scoring and then belting it all the way down, down the park to give them it.
He is probably the only thing that Zibby Malkowski had ever caught in his whole time at Hibs was Benji. Mm-hmm. He stopped him going to the away fans.
Fucking
Zibby,
can't
anything else.
Oh, Zibby, that's just unlocked a core memory I thought I'd forgotten. I'll never forget the Hearts fans singing his name and he applauded them.
Aye. Men.
Fucking, oh my God.
Right, boys, that brings us to an end, and considering where they are and how they're doing, very good, very happy, very upbeat, not as door-faced as this episode might have been. Craig, thanks for coming on. Hopefully not see you within the next 2 months. Hopefully a bit sooner. Aiden, thank you very much for coming on. Hopefully not the last time that we have you on either. Everyone listening, if you've not already, you can catch more of Aiden on the Natural Order podcast, where half of that podcast is fantastic and half of it is you might want to put on mute, but Aiden's half is certainly very, very good. So check that out, listen to that as well. Very good podcast for sure. And if you are still listening, thank you very much. Like, subscribe, follow us on all the usual jazz at the Hibs Ramble. And before I close us off, is there anything else you two gentlemen would like to say?
Fuck them. Fuck them and everyone that sails in them.
Kind of have to echo that. I'll just echo that. It's good enough for me.
I'll let you go. Thank you very much for your evening, boys. Have a Merry Christmas and fuck the Hearts. Whoops, fuck that. Fuck the Hearts.
Fuck both of them.
Aye, fair enough. I'm on the Hibs. See you later.
Let's get ready to rumble.